both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. So Krishna knows, anyone will know actually, Krishna will give anyone the information, that this person is just a blind follower. He's not interested in the knowledge, he has some other interest. So blind following more or less goes under the karma yoga, which is all right. It's usually out of two things. What does karma yoga usually deal with? Either the four people who are in distress, well, I just gave one away. Either the four people who approach Krishna for material reasons, which is blind following usually. No. These are the pious people. What's that? Distress and? Yeah, the people who want some resources, some material happiness. Distress is to get rid of the miseries, and then there's the goods, like getting a planet greater than that of your great-grandfather. Because my great-grandfather didn't have very much, so getting a boat bigger than that was not so difficult. But, these karma yoga, getting some freedom from distress by following the regular principles, and getting some material assets. Fresh air, clean water, nice food, peaceful, nice relationships. And then jnana yoga, absurd inquiries. So jnana yoga is the different things. Are the four kinds of people who approach Krishna, what would jnana yoga cover? What's that? The curious, inquisitive, and those who want liberation. So on the negative side, as we mentioned here, that those who are mudhas, simply interested in materialistic sense gratification, and those who are anaradamas, superiorly civilized, but actually don't follow principles. They're not very regulated. So this comes under the blind following. And absurd inquiries are those of Maya Priti Jnanas and the Asram Bhavam Ashritas. It's kind of like a mixture. But anyhow, people are not really interested in spiritual life. They're interested in some combination of either of materialistic sense gratification and speculation. So this is condemned. But on the other hand, still, one should not only hear submissively, because we should try to hear, but one should get a clear understanding through submission, service, and inquiries. In other words, Krishna's philosophy is, as Prabhupada says, is most consistent, exacting, and voluminous due to the unbroken disciple succession. It's just up to us to assimilate it. The Prabhupada's purpose are helping us assimilate this knowledge so we can see that what is the goal? What does it say the goal in this purport is? What are we trying to achieve? What's that? That's an easy answer. But before we get love of God, what is in this verse, both blind, therefore when the student is, yes, knowledge, what is knowledge? That will be explained in the next verse. Yes, gyatvanam punamaham, evam yasi pandava, yena bhutina sheshani, jakshasyatmini tome. When you've thus seen the truth, you know that all the entities are a part of me, and that they're within me, and that they're mine. So knowledge means to come to the platform of seeing ultimately that Krishna is the proprietor of everything, Krishna is the enjoyer of everything, and Krishna is the friend of everyone. That means liberation. And then from liberation, when there's no more material desires, then we can begin the process of real devotional service and eventually go from strengthen our devotion from nishta to ruchi to asakti the bhava, and finally then there's love of God, actual love of God, prema, when the desire simply to serve Krishna is strengthened and expanded. But first we have to come to liberation and see that everyone and everything here belongs to Krishna. And therefore we approach the spiritual master submissively, we inquire from him, render service, and then we find out that actually that's our position, that everyone by nature is an eternal servant of Krishna, and that we should serve Krishna. And then when we come to that conclusion, and there's no more service of Maya, then we, as Krishna says, we proceed straight on the path to liberation. Tad buddhiyas tad atmanas tad nishtas tad parayanaha gachatna puna avritim jnana nirduta kalmasha. One's intelligence, buddhya, one's faith, one's mind, and one's refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas, the faith, the intelligence, the faith, tad buddhiyas, tad nishta, that's faith, and atmanas, tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas, tad nishta, tad parayanaha, gachatnya puna avritim, jnana nirduta kalmashaha. One's faith, one's mind, one's refuge, and are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So when that's there, one can see Krishna everywhere and everything by illumination, by knowledge. And what does he ultimately see? Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmaniko Vihastini Shuni Chaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. Then he sees the learned and gentle, the humble sages by virtue of true knowledge see with an equal vision the learned and gentle Brahman, the cow, the dog, the dog eater, and the elephant. So then one comes to the platform of liberation to see everyone equally, and that's not the end. That's only the beginning. That's liberation. Then from there one goes on to come to the love of God, which is the rest of the chapter. Generally we think that if you come to that platform of seeing everyone and everything in relation with Krishna, then you've reached perfection. But it's only the beginning of perfection. And as a matter of fact, Krishna consciousness, working under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, means to work with that conception. And then by working that conception, one comes to then Krishna brings one to the liberated platform. It's not that one becomes liberated and then works according to the conception that everything and everyone here belongs to Krishna, everything is meant for Krishna's service, and that Krishna is a real friend of everyone. And therefore, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, whoever we meet, we should try to enlighten them in Krishna consciousness. That's the process of becoming liberated. Then from that platform of liberation, as one becomes more and more expert in that process, then one comes to the platform of love of God. Krishna brings one to the platform of love of God. So at first we practice on that platform, and then when we become steady in that platform, it becomes spontaneous, working on that platform, then we come to the perfectional stage. So at first it's not spontaneous. We don't necessarily want to serve Krishna all the time. We don't necessarily want to cooperate with the devotees. We don't necessarily want to help the innocent. We don't necessarily want to avoid those who are against Krishna. We may even want to do those things. But when we give them up, and then we simply work to please Krishna, work to cooperate with the devotees, work to help the innocent, and avoid consciously those who are against Krishna, then we make progress towards eventually getting a taste for loving Krishna, cooperating with the devotees, helping the innocent, and avoiding the atheists. And eventually one comes to the liberated platform, and from there a real taste develops for those things. But the same process is there at the beginning and at the end. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the purport there is a phrase which says that one has to pass the test of the spiritual master.
You have to get at least a 98%. Very high grade. Yes, what's the question?
Yeah, if you can give an idea what that means, what this test.
It means, generally in English they say we're fair weather friends. When everything's going right, we're surrendered. And as soon as something goes in a way that I don't like, immediately my mind starts to rebel. Something's going wrong, and I don't agree with it. So the test usually comes in two ways. Either something happens that we don't like, and then we rebel, or something gets so nice that we forget about Krishna. Thanks a lot, Krishna. As I said, one time, I knew one devotee in Los Angeles. He inherited $25 million at that time. That was like 40 years ago. That was a lot of money. That was like $100 million nowadays. So he went to get the money, and when he got the money, he sent back his japa beads and all his books and his dhotis, and said, I don't need these anymore. So he didn't pass the test. On the other hand, there's cases when people get into difficulty. The other example I know is, there was one devotee, he went to the doctor, he said, you're going to die in a year, you have a heart condition. So he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I'm going to die in a year, can you give me Babaji? So Prabhupada gave him Babaji. And then a year passed, he was still alive. So he had a hard time because Babaji meant he couldn't preach, he was just supposed to chant all day long. But his mind was not so controlled. So he went to Prabhupada during that year and he said, Prabhupada, I can't do it. So Prabhupada said, you can take sannyas then. So the year went by and he was still all right. So then he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I made a mistake. You don't have a heart condition. He said, I don't. He said, what do I need this Babaji and sannyas for? So he gave it up and went back with his girlfriend. So he didn't pass that test either. Or when things go bad, then we'd say, oh, Krishna doesn't love me and I quit. So you don't pass the test. I know one lady, she had some cancer and she went to Vrindavan to die. But then last moment she left Vrindavan and went back to her parents. Actually went back to a hospital in Russia to try and save her. Which is like, she was just about to die. Instead of rather being in Vrindavan and dying there, leaving her body, she decided to go to Russia. Obviously, she didn't get the ultimate goal. So she didn't pass that test either. So that's what it means. Anything else? Yes. Here's a microphone.
Thank you for inspiring lecture. When you mentioned about the test that come either in difficulty or other form, how can we introspect or observe if we are ready for those tests before the tests come actually?
How do we know? We could probably take it for granted that we're not ready. And we should try and get ready. Because if we say, oh, I'm ready for this. I'd imagine in some way or another we don't perfectly pass any test. Because it takes a perfect devotee to pass a perfect test. But we learn from even our failures, hopefully. For instance, if you have, like Parikshit Maharaj was hungry and thirsty, and that was a test, supposedly, and therefore he went to Samaka Rishi's ashram looking for some water at least, and then he didn't pass the test, and he put a dead garland over the sage's neck of a snake, actually, a garland of a dead snake over the sage's neck, and he got cursed. But he learned, he decided that let any reaction for what I did come upon me and avoid anything happening to my family. Of course, he was a pure devotee. This is just a pastime. Anyhow, sometimes we make a mistake and then we learn because we didn't pass the test. So we can't expect to pass every test. And if we don't pass the test, I quit the school. Yes. Here. Doesn't work.
Thank you, Maharaj, for this class. I have a question, as though I'm a newcomer, I'm just asking. I like coming to the temple, I like reading Srila Prabhupada's books. I can see that there is something very solid here. But I hear so much about ISKCON gurus and fall downs and this and that. So I'm very suspicious and I'm not sure I want to take initiation because I don't know if my guru will fall down.
Well, yeah, we don't have to worry about anyone falling down because we're already fallen. If you're already fallen, how can you fall down? There's no. As far as worrying, Prabhupada gives the example: if you want to eat some, say you have an apple and the apple is fresh. So if you think, well, maybe I shouldn't eat the apple because in 2 weeks it might get rotten. So to worry about, maybe I shouldn't open my door because maybe the sky will fall on me. When we take initiation, the important thing is our attitude. Is that working? Yeah. The important thing is our attitude. Now the guru may be perfect, he may not be perfect. The question is, if I serve the guru, then I'll become perfect. Because the guru has to give some perfect instructions, and we should have faith that, at least for now, as far as we can see, he's giving the instructions coming from disciple succession. And if I follow them, I'll become perfect. So the guru doesn't claim he's perfect. All he can claim is he's giving perfect instructions coming from his guru. Besides that, if you take initiation of the disciple succession, even your guru falls down, still the whole disciple succession is not going to fall down. So still you're connected to the disciple succession. Anything else? Khala, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.